Science fiction is real.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So we're always getting
7.
a whole new, paradigm.
You're all recording.
Alright, this is definitely the first time I've done this.
First time we've met you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there.
Alright, I'm gonna do this for the first time. Alright. Famed scientist and science communicator Carl Sagan once said, "The size and age of the cosmos are beyond ordinary human understanding. Lost somewhere between immensity and eternity is our tiny planetary home. And yet, when we cast our gaze across the vast expanse in which we reside, we don't seem to see evidence that there's anyone else looking back at us." This contradiction is the topic of my speech today, more formally titled the Fermi Paradox. Simply put, the Fermi Paradox asks, given the apparent size, scale, and age of the universe, should there not be other life like us out there? And if so, where are they? I've been researching the Fermi Paradox and its associated solutions and intricacies for the better part of the last decade. It is, I believe, the most philosophically relevant question of our time, and one I've spent thousands of hours reading, watching, contemplating, discussing, and arguing about. Today, I'll be covering what the Fermi Paradox is, providing some background on what we do know about the universe, which helps expose why the question itself is so vexing, and producing a few of my favorite, out of the several hundred, solutions to the Fermi Paradox. Named for famed physicist, Nobel Prize recipient, and Manhattan Project collaborator Enrico Fermi, who famously asked of life beyond Earth, "Where are they?" The Fermi Paradox is, while not a true paradox, a riddle that seeks to test our ability to answer a question that has no definitive conclusion upon which an answer may reside, at least for the time being. When we look at the sky, we might expect to find technological signatures, such as stars disappearing as vast civilizations cover them with solar-collecting megastructures, more formally known as Dyson swarms or spheres. And indeed, efforts to find precisely these structures for these reasons are underway. We don't see faster-than-light ships darting across the night sky like oil tankers across the shipping lanes of the Pacific Northwest, though it has been proposed in an article in Applied Physics that recently detected gravity waves may be a sign of just such a signature. And as of yet, we haven't experienced visitation, the likes of which produces exchange students from distant shores of planets beyond naming conventions. Though it has been suggested in a paper published in the Astrophysics Journal that perhaps visitation is unlikely, specifically until after the arrival of radio communication technology, a point in the development of civilization termed by the paper's author as the contact era. Still though, the size and age of our universe begs us to reconsider the arrogant notion that a sea in which we've only barely dipped our toes is populated solely by a sample size of 1. Okay, so the universe is big, but how big? What does big even mean? In a review of astronomical history by NASA, in 1919, we believed the universe was only 300,000 light years across. In 1955, we had updated that figure to know that our existence was encapsulated by a 4 billion light year width of space. By 2006, that number had again been updated too and reported by NASA to be an unimaginable 94 billion light years across. To add to this incredible size is the reality that the universe is an estimated 13.6 billion years old. That's big and old. But it isn't just the scale and age that lends credibility to solutions that seek to answer Fermi's inquisition. Contained within this jaw-dropping expanse is an estimated, brace for this, 500 billion galaxies. Shrinking our lens, there's an estimated 200 billion, that's billion with a B, stars in our Milky Way galaxy. What about planets, though? Well, here's where things get really interesting. In the Milky Way alone, scientists estimate that there are about 60 billion planets that occupy what is known as the habitable zone, in which life such as ours can survive and possibly arise. That's a lot of space for nothing to be going on at all, and that's just in our backyard. What more could be waiting in the rest of the neighborhood? So, the universe is big, it's full, and with ever-increasing tools to measure it, it's seemingly getting bigger and fuller and more capable of hosting life with each subsequent measurement. So what's the answer then? Where are the aliens? Solutions to the Fermi Paradox are as numerous as they are intriguing. One list, featured in the International Journal of Astrobiology, outlines at least 50 non-anthropomorphic solutions that try and remove human bias from the equation, while others grow exponentially longer in length. Some of my personal favorites include the Great Filter Hypothesis, which as author Doug Adler outlines in his article published on astronomy.com, Civilization, upon reaching some universal milestone, such as the discovery of and ability to split the atom, wipe themselves out. In this example, we may either have been the first to pass through our great filter and are pioneers of life in the universe, or are alternatively awaiting our inescapable doom as we occupy the shadows of our predecessors who fell before us to the same fate which we are headed. Another popular solution is the famed zoo hypothesis, outlined by Matthew Williams in his contribution to Universe Today, that posits perhaps we exist in a galaxy in a galactic isolation for observation or protection. This theory tends to be put down, though, as it requires a universal adherence of all life to maintain that isolation, something we can't even achieve here on Earth with our own attempts at containment, such as zoos or laws preventing interactions with as of yet uncontacted native cultures. Finally, one of my favorite hypotheses is the dark forest hypothesis, made famous by author Liu Shizhen in his Remembrance of Earth's Past series. In essence, the dark forest hypothesis posits that life does exist, but the only means to stay safe is to either hide extremely well or to wipe out life once you find it to ensure they never have the option of wiping you out. My intention here today is not to convince you that the universe is some vacant chamber, void of life, or that I'm some sage knower that through some trick of mental arithmetic has exposed the empty reality of the cosmos. Ultimately, my goal here is to explore with you the question that has kept me up at night, and the riddle that has allowed me to find comfort in my ignorance, while through some act of meta-paradoxical twisting, opened my mind in ways I could have never imagined. Today, we covered the Fermi paradox, justified it with some knowledge about the universe's mind-boggling scale, and explored some of my favorite solutions. The Fermi paradox is the question we ask on our way to receiving an answer of deafening silence that truly helps illuminate the path upon which we tread. And what good can a view be if there's no light with which to see it? Everyone has their own answer. That's one of the great things about the Fermi paradox. As Carl Sagan said, exploration is in our nature. We began as wanderers, and we are wanderers still. We have lingered long enough on the shores of the cosmic ocean. We are ready at last to set sail for the stars. Who's to say who we'll meet once we get out there?
Woo!